I remember the night I found the library. It wasn't a special night, at least not at first. The sky was heavy with quiet clouds, and the streets were almost empty. I had been walking without a real destination, just letting my thoughts move as slowly as my steps. The air was cool enough to make each breath feel calm, and the streetlights glowed in a soft golden way that made everything seem a little unreal. Somewhere down a narrow street, between two old buildings, I saw a warm light. It was the kind of light that looked gentle, not bright, like candlelight behind thick glass. When I got closer, I saw the sign. It said simply, Public Library. The letters were faded, but still clear. Below it, a smaller wooden sign said, Open. Always. That made me smile. Always was a word that didn't mean much anymore. Everything closed sooner or later, but the door was open and a soft scent drifted out. Paper, dust, and something faintly like vanilla. It was the smell of time. When I stepped inside, the sound of the outside world faded completely. The city's hum disappeared, replaced by silence that wasn't empty. It was a comfortable kind of silence, like the pause between heartbeats. The light came from old lamps placed along wooden tables. They cast round pools of golden glow across the floor. There was no one at the front desk, no footsteps, no voices, only the faint rustle of pages turning somewhere far away. I thought maybe someone had left the place open by accident, but then I noticed a small note sitting on the counter. In neat handwriting it said, Please make yourself at home. The library never closes. I decided to walk in a little farther. The wooden floor creaked softly under my shoes. The shelves were tall, stretching high above my head, and the air was cool and still. Books lined every inch of the walls. Big ones, small ones, some so old their titles had faded away. A soft ticking sound came from somewhere deep inside, maybe an old clock. I wandered down an aisle and ran my fingers gently along the spines of the books. The texture was comforting. Some were smooth, some rough, some worn by time. I stopped at a random shelf and pulled out a thin book covered in dark green fabric. When I opened it, I expected words, but the pages were blank, every single one. I smiled to myself and thought maybe it was a notebook left unfinished by someone long ago. I placed it back and kept walking. The deeper I went, the more the place seemed to stretch. I couldn't tell if I was walking in circles or if the library was simply much bigger inside than it looked from the street. The lamps were spaced just far enough apart to leave small shadows between them. In those shadows, I imagined quiet things sleeping, old stories, maybe, or the memories of people who once read here. Then I heard something. A soft sound, like a chair being moved slightly. I turned and saw an elderly man sitting at one of the tables. He wore a gray sweater and a scarf, and he was reading slowly, one hand resting on the page, the other holding a cup of tea. The steam rose gently, catching the light. I hesitated for a moment, not wanting to disturb him, but then he looked up and smiled. It wasn't a wide smile, just enough to make his eyes shine a little. Good evening, he said quietly. His voice was calm, the kind of voice that carried no weight at all. Good evening, I replied. I didn't think anyone would be here this late. He nodded slowly. There is always someone here, he said. This library doesn't close, I smiled. So the sign was true? Yes, he said, turning a page carefully. True in every sense that matters. I didn't know what he meant, but I didn't ask. The stillness of the place didn't invite questions, it invited rest. He motioned to the seat across from him. You can sit if you'd like, he said. The books don't mind company. I sat down, feeling the old wooden chair creak under me. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence filled the room again, wrapping around us like a blanket. Somewhere in the distance, a clock chimed softly, once, twice, 3 times. What are you reading? I asked at last. He looked at the cover. I'm not sure anymore, he said. Sometimes the books here change. You start reading a story and it becomes something else. Maybe it just reads what you need to remember. I smiled faintly. That sounds nice. He nodded. It is. You'll find your book soon enough. I looked around. The aisles seemed endless now, each shelf fading gently into the soft light. Do you live nearby? I asked. I live here, he said simply. Then, as if reading my thought, he added, not in the way you mean. I come and go, but I never really leave. I didn't quite understand, but something about his calm tone made it unnecessary to question. I felt a kind of peace sitting there, listening to the quiet rhythm of the clock and the sound of the man's slow breathing. After a while, I stood up. I think I'll look around a bit more, I said. He nodded. You'll find what you didn't know you were looking for. I walked away, and when I turned back, the table behind me was empty. The teacup was gone, so was the man. Only the open book remained, and its pages returning slowly on their own, as if touched by a soft breeze. I didn't feel frightened. If anything, I felt more curious and oddly calm. Somewhere in this quiet, endless place, I had the feeling that time didn't matter at all.